My wife's sister grabbed my arm when I tried to leave after she insulted how we handled our son's birth. I warned her I'd report her if she didn't let go. My wife told me to apologize to her. When my wife defended them and got aggressive, I reported her family, left with my son, and now my ex wants to talk like nothing happened and get back into our lives. The worst night of my life ended in a fluorescent-lit delivery room, soaked in the sterile scent of antiseptic and fear. My name is Samir. I'm 28. I work as an aircraft mechanic in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'll never forget the sound of my son's first cry, not because it was joyful, but because it followed 2 minutes of silence. 2 minutes where I thought I'd lost both him and Lena. The pregnancy was already complicated. High blood pressure, swelling, a dangerous dip in the baby's heart rate. I kept hoping Lena's family would understand when the doctor insisted on an emergency C-section. But they didn't. To them, real strength meant pushing through naturally, no matter the risk. It's been 6 months, and I still flinch when someone calls me strong for getting through it. I wasn't strong. I was terrified. So when Lena told me her sister Yara was hosting a little get-together, just cousins and aunts, she said, I hesitated. Her family never liked me. But I said yes anyway, because our son deserved to be around people who smiled at him, even if those smiles never reached me. We arrived late, of course. Lena takes her time with the diaper bag. The moment we stepped inside, Yara swooped in and snatched the baby from my arms like she owned him. There's my little prince, she cooed, ignoring me entirely. I held back. It wasn't the place. The living room smelled like cardamom tea and burnt lamb. Plastic plates piled high with food, women laughing a little too loud. Lena disappeared into the kitchen while I settled on the couch with a bottle, feeding our son. That's when Yara sat beside me and said the thing that made my stomach turn. You know, she began, eyes fixed on the baby. I still can't believe Lena went through with the C-section. So dramatic. I froze, the bottle halfway to my son's lips. Yara kept going. I told her, women in our family give birth the real way. Not like these Western doctors who scare you into surgery. But she listens to you now, doesn't she? You made her soft. My hand curled tighter around the bottle. You should have insisted on natural. That's what a real man would do, she said with a smirk, like she was sharing a joke. I took a breath. Then another. Then I reached over, gently but firmly, and lifted my son out of her arms. Thank you, I said, not looking at her. We'll be heading out. Samir, Lena had reappeared, confusion and frustration already brewing on her face. Later, I said. We'll talk at home. I strapped our son into his car seat while Lena trailed behind, trying to mask the awkward goodbyes. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just drove home in silence, my jaw locked so tight it ached. I wasn't angry that Yara judged us. I was used to that. I was angry because she said it like it was normal, like watching your wife almost die was something you were supposed to treat like an inconvenience. And what hurt most was that no one in that room said a word. Not one. A couple days after the gathering, I told Lena I didn't want Yara holding our son anymore. Not until she apologized. I didn't raise my voice. I just said it as plainly as I could while changing a diaper. Lena looked up from her phone, blinking like I'd asked for something outrageous. Are you serious right now? She insulted both of us, I said, tossing the used diaper in the pail. She sat there and mocked everything we went through during the birth. That wasn't just a joke. Lena sighed and set her phone down. She was being dramatic. That's just how she talks. That's not an excuse. She didn't mean anything by it, Samir. You know how she is. She says things without thinking. That's exactly the problem, I said, trying to keep calm. She says whatever she wants and nobody checks her. And when I finally say something, I'm the one being difficult. She's my sister, Lena said flatly. I'm not going to ban her from seeing her nephew over one dumb comment. She can see him. She just can't hold him until she says sorry. Lena gave a short, sharp laugh. You're using the baby to punish her? Seriously. I stared at her, stunned. You think this is about revenge? You're blowing it way out of proportion, she said, standing up and brushing past me. You should be grateful our son is even here. We got through it, didn't we? Let it go. Let it go. I stood in the nursery a while after that, watching our son sleep. He kicked once, smiling in his dreams. Maybe it was gas. Maybe it was something better. That night, Yara called Lena while we were watching a movie. I could hear her through the phone's speaker, ranting about me. He's being controlling. He's punishing me with the baby. What kind of man does that? Lena didn't defend me. She just nodded along and said, I know. He's been acting weird since the hospital. He's still sensitive about everything. I didn't say anything. I just stood up, walked into the kitchen, and opened the fridge, not because I needed anything, but because I needed somewhere to breathe. Later, I tried to talk to my dad back home. He lives in Beirut. We talk every Sunday. This time, I told him what happened, how the birth went, how things have been since. He listened, silent for a long time. Then he said, "Women are like that. You just keep the peace. Don't bring conflict into your house. Keep the peace." Everyone kept saying that. Like peace was more important than respect. Like my role was to absorb everything, the fear, the insults, the disrespect, and smile through it for the sake of the family. That night, I lay in bed with Lena turned away from me, scrolling through her phone. I looked up at the ceiling, counting the cracks in the paint, wondering when exactly I'd started to feel like a stranger in my own home. 2 mornings later, Lena stood at the sink rinsing dishes while our son gurgled in his bouncer on the floor. Without turning around, she said, "I think you need to talk to someone." I paused at the doorway. About what? About the birth. About everything that happened after. You haven't been the same. I leaned on the doorframe, arms crossed. You mean I haven't been agreeable? I mean you're tense all the time, she said, finally facing me. You're snappy. You're cold with my family. I think you're holding on to trauma that you haven't dealt with. Lena, I watched you nearly die. I watched our son come into this world not breathing. And now your sister mocks that like it's some kind of weakness. That's not trauma. That's disrespect. She wiped her hands on a towel and rolled her eyes. Here we go again. I'm serious. And I'm telling you, you're making this into a crusade. You act like you're the only one who went through it. I never said that. You didn't have to, she snapped. You act like I owe you something for staying calm during the emergency. Like you're the hero. I took a deep breath, trying not to react. I don't want credit. I want acknowledgement. What we went through, it was real. It was terrifying. And what Yara said wasn't just rude, it was dangerous. She's the type who would have pushed you into a natural birth, even if it killed you. Okay, Lena said sharply, turning back to the sink. We're not having this fight again. I'm not going to cut off my sister because you're emotional. I'm not emotional. She looked over her shoulder. Then stop acting like it. You're making things worse. My family's been walking on eggshells. I nearly laughed. They've been walking on eggshells? I'm the one being insulted in my own living room. No one insulted you. Lena, she said, I made you soft. She said I wasn't a real man. How is that not an insult? She waved a hand. It's cultural. It's not that deep. You're the one reading too much into it. I stood there in silence for a moment. Then I nodded slowly. Okay, got it. She didn't ask what that meant. She just turned on the faucet again. That night, I sat in the dark in the nursery, rocking our son while the white noise machine hummed in the background. My thoughts circled like vultures, ugly, tight, and constant. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was too sensitive. But then I looked down at my boy, asleep in my arms, and I knew something for sure. I'd rather be sensitive than silent. The family meeting was Lena's idea. She called it a peace offering, but the way she avoided eye contact made it clear it wasn't about peace. It was about putting this thing to bed without rocking the boat too hard, without making her mother or sister uncomfortable. You don't even have to argue, she told me as she packed the diaper bag. Just say your piece calmly. Let them respond. Then we can all move on. You coming with me? She hesitated. I think it's better if it's just you and them. Less emotional. Right. Because I'm the emotional one. Still, I went. Not for Yara. Not for her mother. For my son. Because if there was even a sliver of hope that we could clear the air, I wanted to take it. The meeting was at their house, Lena's childhood home, filled with fake plants, heavy curtains, and 1,000 framed photos of cousins I couldn't name. Yara opened the door, smirking like this was all beneath her. Their mother, Amal, sat on the couch with her arms folded like a judge about to hear a petty case. I kept my voice low, steady. I came because I want things to be civil. But I need to say this once, clearly what happened at your gathering was not okay. What you said, Yara, about the birth, about me not being a real man, that was cruel. And ignorant. We nearly lost Lena. We nearly lost our son. And for you to mock that, oh my God, Yara cut in, scoffing. You're still crying about that? Amal raised a hand like she was calming a child. Samir, no one meant to hurt you. But maybe you were being a little sensitive. Birth is a women's issue. It's not for men to take so personally. I blinked. It wasn't about me being offended. It was about my family being put at risk. I trusted the doctors because they saved their lives. Yara rolled her eyes. So now you're the medical expert? I stood. I said what I needed to say. Clearly, you're not interested in taking responsibility. I turned to pick up the baby carrier beside the couch. My son was dozing inside, wrapped in his little blue blanket. As I reached for the handle, Yara grabbed my forearm. You're not just taking him like that, she said. He's my nephew too. I pulled back. Let go of me. You don't get to control everything, she snapped, her nails digging in. Let go, or I'll file a police report for assault. That made her pause. Her hand loosened. She stepped back. I looked over at Amal, expecting her to say something, anything. But she just sat there, lips pursed, silent. I carried my son out without another word. My hands were shaking so hard I had to steady them on the car door. Back home, Lena asked how it went. Your sister grabbed me, I said. Tried to keep me from leaving. Her eyes narrowed. Did you provoke her? That was the moment I stopped hoping things would fix themselves. I hadn't raised my voice. I hadn't made threats. I tried to talk, tried to be decent, and it got me grabbed, mocked, dismissed again. Never again. When I got home, the baby was still asleep in his carrier. I set him down gently by the couch and went straight to the kitchen, needing something, anything, to calm my hands. Lena was at the table, eating leftover biryani and scrolling on her phone like nothing had happened. "You want to tell me what that was?" I said, pulling out a chair. My voice was low. I was done yelling. Yelling didn't work. She didn't even look up. I already talked to my mom. She said it wasn't that serious. I stared at her. Yara physically grabbed me, Lena. She wouldn't let go of my arm. "That's not serious. That's a problem." Finally, she set the fork down. "Did you provoke her?" My chest tightened. I had expected a lot of things when I walked back in the house, but not that. "Are you serious?" I said. I calmly stated what happened at the gathering. I asked for basic respect. I tried to leave. She grabbed me in front of your mother. And nobody stopped her. She was emotional. She was aggressive. She didn't mean anything by it, Lena snapped. "You're blowing this way out of proportion." I stood up. "No. I'm finally seeing it for what it is. Your sister put her hands on me. And you're making excuses. You're making ultimatums," she shouted back, standing now too. "This whole thing has been you trying to control everything. Who sees the baby, who apologizes, who doesn't. You think you're the only one who suffered? You think you're the only one with a story?" I took a deep breath. I'm not asking for control. I'm asking for basic safety. For our child. For myself. She crossed her arms. "So what? You want me to cut off my family because your feelings are hurt?" "No," I said, my voice shaking now. "I want you to stop choosing them every time they disrespect me." Lena's face hardened. "Maybe you're not as stable as you think you are." I blinked. "What?" "You've been moody for months. Quiet. Suspicious of everyone. Maybe you should talk to someone. Get help. Because this isn't normal." That's when I realized we were on opposite sides of a line I didn't even know had been drawn. "I'm taking him," I said. "We need space. Some time to think." She stepped in front of me. "You're not taking my son." "I'm not arguing," I said. "I'm not yelling. But I am leaving. Tonight." "You're not well?" she said, and suddenly her hand clamped around my wrist. "You're not thinking straight." I looked her in the eye. Calm. Cold. "Let go. Or I'll take a photo of the bruises and have it documented before the night's over." That made her stop. Her hand loosened. I picked up the baby carrier, walked to the front door, and didn't look back. We checked into a small hotel with a kitchenette and 2 beds. It wasn't home, but it was quiet. My son slept soundly that night. And me? I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the glow of the baby monitor, and started making a list. Lawyer. Custody. Safety plan. Because the moment Lena chose silence over truth, something broke in me that wouldn't get patched back together. Not this time. The fallout started before breakfast the next day. My phone buzzed as I poured formula into a bottle. 10 notifications. Then 23. By the time I sat down, it was over 50. All from Lena's family. Most were public. Lena's cousin posted a photo of the two of them at the hospital months ago, captioned, "No woman deserves to be left alone with a baby while the father spirals." Yara chimed in on a comment thread beneath it. "Some men can't handle fatherhood without turning abusive." Sad. The words didn't sting. Not really. I'd already braced for the backlash. What shook me was the flood of people, family, friends, mutual acquaintances, liking, sharing, piling on. I opened one of the tag posts. Yara had written, "He stormed out with the baby." Lena was scared. "We're all scared. Pray for her." That one stopped me. Scared? I looked over at my son in the pack-and-play, kicking his legs, making little squeaking noises. I hadn't even raised my voice before leaving. I hadn't slammed a door. I'd walked out with a diaper bag and a bruised arm. They were turning me into a threat. That afternoon, I booked a consult with a family law attorney in Durham. Her name was Marla, mid-40s, sharp eyes, no small talk. She read through the notes I'd already started compiling: texts, screenshots, medical receipts, a photo of the faint bruise Lena left on my wrist. She flipped the paper over, jotted something, then looked up. "You did the right thing leaving. But this is going to get uglier before it gets better. Will they be able to claim abandonment?" I asked. "Not if you document everything. Start a log. Dates, times, everything she says or does. And if they keep posting things like this," she tapped one of the screenshots, "they're digging their own grave." I left her office with a folder full of paperwork and a plan: petition for temporary custody, request a no-contact clause for Yara and Amal, and file a formal incident report with Raleigh PD, just for the record. At the precinct, the officer took my statement calmly. When I showed him the photo of my wrist, he nodded. "You're doing this the right way. Don't wait for it to escalate." That night, I called my father. He picked up on the first ring. "You okay?" he asked. "No," I said honestly. But I'm getting there. After I explained everything, what Yara did, how Lena reacted, the smear campaign, there was a long pause on the line. Then, I'll be on a plane tomorrow. You don't have to. I do, he said. This is not something you face alone. And for the first time in weeks, my chest loosened. Not from relief, not from victory, but from something smaller, steadier. Someone believed me. And that was enough to keep going. My father and 2 of my brothers arrived the next evening. They didn't bring flowers or soft words, just carry-ons and a quiet determination. The moment I opened the hotel door, my father stepped in and kissed my son on the forehead. Where's Lena now? He asked. Still at the house, I assume, I said. She hasn't tried to reach me. He glanced around the room, took in the kitchenette, the portable crib, the unopened suitcase of diapers. This isn't home, but it'll do for now. Later that night, after my son was asleep, we sat around the small table in the room while I caught them up on everything from the emergency birth to the slap-in-the-face meeting at Amal's to the smear campaign online. When I finished, my younger brother Kareem slammed his hand on the table. Let's go talk to them. Tonight. Just us. Face to face. My father held up a hand. No. Kareem looked surprised. But they've been lying about him. Threatening him. You think we should just sit here? We don't respond with fire, my father said calmly. We respond with proof. I nodded. I've already started the process. The lawyer thinks we have a good case for temporary custody and a protection order against Yara. But it's going to take time. Kareem leaned back, frustrated. So we do nothing? We build, I said. I've already been in touch with a friend from work. I'm staying with him starting next week. He's got space and a secure environment. Someone you trust? My father asked. Yeah, we've worked together for 5 years. No drama. Quiet place. Good for the baby. They all nodded. That night, I started sorting through the baby's legal documents, birth certificate, health records, pediatric appointments. I filled out forms for travel authorization and passport applications. I made a spreadsheet of Lena's texts, Yara's posts, and everything I could recall from each interaction that crossed a line. The next morning, Lena finally texted. Lena, so now you're making this public? Getting lawyers involved? What happened to protecting your family? Then another. Lena, you're turning strangers against me. My friends are seeing this. My job is seeing this. And finally, Lena, you've destroyed this family. Hope you're proud of yourself. I didn't reply. I didn't even flinch. Instead, I looked at my son sitting on the hotel carpet, stacking blocks and squealing when they fell. I reached over, lifted him into my arms, and kissed the top of his head. You don't need a perfect family, I whispered. You just need a safe one. And in that moment, I realized something. I wasn't fighting to win. I was fighting to unlearn every warped idea of what love looked like. For him. For me. And I wasn't backing down. The spare room at my friend Eli's place wasn't much, just a twin bed, a rocking chair, and a baby monitor perched on a bookshelf. But to me, it felt like sanctuary. No yelling. No judgment. Just a quiet space where I could breathe, where my son could sleep without tension in the air. Eli didn't ask for details. He just moved boxes out of the closet and bought blackout curtains from Target the same day we arrived. Stay as long as you need, he said. You're not alone in this. Every morning, I made coffee while my son babbled in his high chair. Every night, I filed more paperwork, double-checked forms, and made notes on everything I remembered, conversations, threats, even facial expressions. It became a routine. My routine. And that rhythm kept me sane. I started seeing a counselor once a week. Her name was Diana. She listened without interruption, her office full of quiet lamps and calm colors. When I told her about the emergency birth, she didn't minimize it. She didn't say, at least it turned out okay. She said, you were traumatized. That matters. It was the first time someone had used that word, trauma, and not said it like a diagnosis or an accusation. Just a fact. Meanwhile, I worked through the logistics. I applied for my son's passport with Lena's signature from a previous form she'd signed weeks ago. My lawyer said we might still need a court order to make travel happen if Lena fought it, but we were preparing for every possibility. I wasn't leaving anything to chance. But it wasn't easy. My son didn't take to the new formula well. He cried at night, refused certain bottles, and spit up more often than usual. There were nights where I walked him around the room for hours, bouncing him in my arms while sweat soaked through my shirt. Nights where my arms ached, where I wanted to scream into a pillow from pure exhaustion. But I kept going. I started keeping a journal, not for court, not for evidence. Just for me. To remind myself what I was building. Not revenge. Not a fight. A life. A safe, quiet, consistent life. And in the small moments, peace found me. Like the first time my son slept through the night again. Like the afternoon Eli brought home a used baby swing and said, he deserves to feel normal. Like the time my father sat beside me in the kitchen and said, when you were born, I never thought you'd end up this strong. I didn't feel strong. I felt tired, bruised, raw. But I also felt something new, a thread of hope running through each day, each feeding, each legal milestone. The court process had begun. Slowly, but steadily. And I was still here. Still standing. Still holding my son. That was enough. For now. The first court date was uneventful on the surface. Just paperwork, scheduling, and a family court judge flipping through a thick manila folder while I held my son in the back row. But behind the scenes, something shifted. My lawyer, Marla, leaned in and whispered, "The judge is interested. He's already issued a hearing for temporary custody." That's fast. That night, I sat in Eli's living room while my son napped, reviewing every piece of evidence we'd submitted, the social media posts, the texts, the bruise photos, the police report, the witness affidavit from Eli about the night we showed up at his door. But the most damning pieces weren't the ones I expected. They weren't even from me. They were from Lena. Screenshots from her private Facebook messages, one she forgot she'd sent to an old mutual friend, were now part of the record. In them, she described me as controlling, emotional, and too sensitive to be a real father. She called my departure a tantrum. She said I was damaged from the birth and probably paranoid. Marla printed those messages out and placed them directly beneath the pediatrician's letter explaining that my son was thriving under my care. Regular checkups. No signs of neglect. Hitting his milestones. Healthy weight. Contrast, she said. You're calm and prepared. She's spiraling. This helps. I wasn't celebrating, but I felt something click into place. Then came the online smear campaign, and that's when everything tipped in my favor. Lena posted a long status update late one night. When a man steals your child and manipulates the system, all while pretending to be a victim, pray for justice. Some people weaponize trauma to cover their own abuse. Attached was a blurry picture of me holding our son at the hotel parking lot, clearly taken without my knowledge. The comment section exploded. Yara chimed in. Her mother too. There were hashtags. Public accusations. But what they didn't realize was that everything they posted could be submitted as evidence, and it was. The next morning, Marla filed a motion for a protective order. 2 days later, it was granted. Temporary. But still, a judge told Lena and her family to stay away from me and the child until further notice. That same day, we got the news. I had been granted temporary sole custody. No joint arrangement. No shared weekends. Just me. I sat in the car outside the courthouse, holding the document in my hands like it was made of glass. My son was in the back seat, kicking his feet, giggling at the toy elephant clipped to his car seat. You're safe, I whispered. No one's taking you. That night, Lena messaged me again. A final attempt. Lena, you think you won. But this isn't over. You'll regret dragging everyone through court. I didn't reply. Instead, I saved the message, screenshotted the timestamp, and emailed it to Marla. Then I held my son against my chest and turned the lights out. For the first time in weeks, I slept. Solid. Dreamless. Because I wasn't scared anymore. I was ready. We got clearance to travel 2 weeks later. The judge's ruling was cautious but firm. I had sole temporary custody. Lena had no visitation rights until the next hearing, and I was permitted to return to Lebanon with my son under monitored departure. I had to submit our itinerary, emergency contacts, and provide monthly check-ins via video. I didn't care how many forms I had to fill out. We were going home. Eli helped us pack the night before. My father sat at the table, folding onesies and baby socks with surprising care. Every now and then, he'd stop to check the passport envelope like he didn't fully believe it was real. You did everything right, he said as I zipped the suitcase. Even when no one believed you. I didn't answer right away. I was thinking about the hotel nights. The bottle feedings at 3 a.m. The court clerk calling my name while I held my son in one arm and signed custody papers with the other. I wasn't proud of what had happened, but I was proud of surviving it. Eli walked us to the car in the morning. He didn't say much, just gave me a long, quiet hug and handed me a duffel bag filled with baby supplies, extra formula, and a note that simply read, "You're a damn good father." At the airport, I held my son tight as we passed through security. Every checkpoint, every document check, every glance from TSA made my chest tighten just a little. I had all the legal paperwork. I had nothing to hide. But part of me still feared they'd stop us. Say there was a new order. Say Lena had somehow found a way to undo everything. But they didn't. When we stepped onto the plane, the flight attendant smiled and helped me buckle the baby carrier into the window seat. First flight? She asked. First flight free, I said. First one that's ours. We landed in Beirut just past noon. The sun was sharp, warm, blinding. As we came down the escalator toward arrivals, I saw them. My mother, 2 uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in years. But it was my father's face that stopped me. He looked 10 years younger than he had back in Raleigh. He walked up, opened his arms, and without a word, wrapped both me and my son into his chest. We were home. In the car, my son fell asleep in my lap as we drove through winding streets I knew by heart. I rested my forehead against the window, breathing in the dry air, the scent of pine and diesel and olives. And for the first time in what felt like years, I exhaled. No one was calling me unstable. No one was minimizing the birth. No one was trying to rewrite what I knew had happened. I wasn't naive. I knew Lena's legal team would still try to fight. I knew I'd have to return for court dates, for custody reviews, for the next battle. But I wouldn't be fighting alone anymore. And neither would my son. Whatever came next, we'd face it together. Safe. Whole. Free.